Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610. I'm Zach.
And I'm John, and with us today is my wife, Elizabeth. She's joining us in the studio, the $1 million studio we've got.
Elizabeth, you want to say hello into the mic?
Hey.
Zach, do you want to take a quick pic?
Yeah, for the Insta.
Take a pic for the Instagram.
Oh, do it again. There we go. Yep, that's all 6 of our followers are going to see that this week.
Yes.
Oh, how's your day going, Zach? How's your week going?
It's going all right. I don't know if this is just me or if this is like not a normal healthy thing, but I just got like so anxious today because we're 10 days away from the NFL draft, and I'm like, I definitely have a favorite quarterback for the Colts, and I'm like, oh my god, what if they take the other guy?
Who is it? Anthony Richardson, the guy you didn't want for so long. I don't know what we're gonna do. I know we're gonna end up with Will Levis, and he's gonna be a bust.
Yeah, that's who I'm trying to talk myself into. I mean, he seems like a good dude, and he has an absolute
ripped
rocket for an arm. Yeah.
And he's always doing stuff on like Twitter or Instagram. Isn't he always like eating stuff or
eats like a psychopath? He has mayo in his coffee, and then he eats bananas without unpeeling them.
That's not quarterback material. That's like offensive lineman material.
Or conversely, he's just like an absolute psychopath who's like perfect for like turning off all emotion and just dissecting the defense.
Yeah, that is Midwestern. Mayo in the coffee. If that's not Indiana, I don't know what is.
It seems like it's
no, it's not. That's awful.
Insane asylum behavior.
Yeah. Well, I'll be happy with any of them because I want Lamar Jackson.
So you'll be unhappy with any of them.
Yeah.
How's your Monday going?
It's going well. Mm-hmm. Big cheating scandal at school today.
Yeah.
Apparently some kids were cheating on a social studies test. They got busted. They looked up this girl's iPad, and she was Googling the test questions and then telling them to the person sitting next to her.
Wow.
But it was good. It's always fun to get some good gossip.
Yeah.
But my day's going pretty well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We've also got my dog instead of cats in the studio with us today. And I know you got your cats, so...
John's got a full room over there. There's about 20 other people he hasn't introduced yet because they're not as important.
We'll get to them.
Yeah. I hear George Bush might be over there, Bill Clinton. A couple different people might make appearances.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they might show up and do some commentary on the issues today. If they can come in organically, then they'll jump in.
Sure. I was having dinner with my dad and my wife and my sister-in-law the other day in a restaurant, and there was a Texas Rangers game on the TV. And just kind of like offhand, I was like, oh, hey, Dad, you're not allowed to answer this, but can either of you tell me what famous person used to own that team? And obviously the answer is...
The Texas Rangers. Wait, now you got to give me a second.
Okay.
Who used to own the Texas... Was it a Bush? Was it George H.W.?
No, it was W.
It was W?
Yes. Before he was president. Yeah.
Oh, and wow.
That little harmless comment turned into a did he do 9/11 debate.
Well, on that note, should we throw it over to our friends at the BBB?
Yeah.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
We're back.
And we're back.
We're back, and I, for one, am excited to get back into Ultimate Spider-Man because we've had a break for a little bit, haven't we? Haven't we done Ultimates the last couple episodes?
We did Ultimates last week, but it's understandable why you would think it's longer than that since we didn't record on a Saturday or Sunday this time.
We didn't. That might be Zach throwing some shade at me. It might just be him talking. It might just be him listing a fact, but we were supposed to record on Saturday, and now we're recording on Monday. So Zach's going to have to edit this awfully fast to get it out by our usual day.
Yeah. Well, we already passed that, but the fact that we're saying that it is Monday tells the web heads, how good I am on my word with that turnaround time. If this comes out Tuesday night, cool. If you're hearing this, the day it comes out and it's like Friday, I dropped the ball somewhere.
Well, I apologize because I know now that we've built a pretty loyal listener audience, which maybe this would even be a good time to say, I think we want to start reading some reviews at the end of each episode, right?
Yeah, that was an idea.
So if one of our loyal followers does want to give us a review, then maybe we'll read it. But now that we do have such a loyal listening audience, I feel bad that they were probably refreshing their Spotifys every minute, just waiting to see a new episode on Monday, and it never came.
Well, they're getting it now. All is well again.
Yeah. Okay. So issue 28, because we're doing Ultimate Spider-Man issue 28 and issue 28 and a half today.
I think it's just called a half.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. But it comes after issue 28.
I don't think it really
29, or is it
I think it can come just about anywhere. It's not super continuity heavy.
That sounds inappropriate, Zach.
Okay. It wasn't until you said that.
Okay, so we've got issue 28 and issue 1/2. Do you want to do any more background, or should we hop into it?
This isn't relevant to anything that we've just covered, but Spidey defeated the Green Goblin and did his "What superhero are you?" presentation.
Oh, that was such a good was that Ultimate Spider-Man? No, that was in Super Special number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, issue 28, Sidetracked, this one's called. And I should have known, if I paid more attention to the titles, I might have known what we were getting into with this one. Written by Brian Bendis.
Brian Michael Bendis.
I was going to let that one sit.
He's even in the comics. We've seen him make jokes before. He likes that middle name.
That is funny. That was funny. Inked by Mark Bagley, penciled by Art Taber. And immediately opening up this issue, I'm so happy to be back with Mark Bagley's house style. It's just easy.
I just wish he would answer me on Instagram again.
What was it? Him? Was it Mark Bagley? Is that who that was? The fake Instagram account?
Yeah, it was not Mark Bagley, but they were being Mark Bagley.
Well, maybe he will. Maybe after he hears the praise that I have for him in this.
Yeah, go on. Talk about how you like art that's good, and Mark Bagley's art is good.
But this is so much easier, I think, to just pick up and read than one of the art styles that is more out there.
Even Brian Hitch?
I don't know that
from the Ultimates. Do you think this is easier to follow?
But yeah, I think that it is. It's just more like comic-y. It's more fun.
Yeah. It definitely suits these teenagers. Whenever Spider-Man's not in a mask and it's not the superheroes, it feels like you're, watching some Teen Friends.
Yeah, and that's what we get right away because we open on Midtown High. And Peter is looking at a book about molecules, and he says to himself, organometallic, huh? That's weird, wild stuff. And is that a Jay Leno reference in this Spider-Man comic, or am I reading into that?
I don't know. I'm too young to know anything about Jay Leno.
I think that was a thing that when comedians would try to like impersonate Jay Leno, that's what they would say. They'd be like, "Oh, that's weird, wild stuff." That's what I took it as.
The only memory I have, like, of my own life that involves Jay Leno was, like, in middle school, the news that his show was canceled.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, that's a Johnny Carson thing, not a Jay Leno thing.
Oh, wow. Even older.
The weird, yeah. Yeah,
you were on the right.
Yeah.
You were on the right track.
Yeah. And for our younger audience, Johnny Carson was a famous football player. He played for the Colts, and he would always say, that's weird, wild stuff between plays in the huddle.
Not true.
Nobody fact check. All right. So, Mary Jane comes running into the library. Peter, did you bring your costume to school? And she seems psyched. Whatever's happening, I'm guessing, like a photo op with Spider-Man. You know, they want to throw a party in his honor. It's got to just be he's getting an award, Zach. Surely something good is happening. Surely the city is not being destroyed, and Mary Jane is happy about this. Well, I spoke too soon. Because on the next page, we get a full 2-page drawing of Rhino destroying a city block. He's headbutting cars. He's chucking tires. And I love it. I love this picture. I think it was so awesome. It's drawn so well. The Rhino looks better than I've ever seen him in any movies or anything I've seen the Rhino in. The damage that's being done looks pretty chaotic and just awesome. What do you think?
It's funny that you bring up what he looks like in movies, because I was specifically about to ask you, does this not remind you of like that end scene in The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Because he's like, it's like a mech suit here. And that's what it is in that scene too. And I just think that plays so much better for like a modern take on the character.
Yeah. No, this did remind me of that scene at the end, but this is so much better because this almost does look like a metallic, like Rhino that we know a person is in, but it looks like it could be a huge robot, I think. And the one in The Amazing Spider-Man just looks like Russian Paul Giamatti has been slammed into a Rhino suit. That doesn't really look that much like a Rhino.
Yeah, but just the idea of it being like a mechanized suit is kind of a newer thing, and I think this might be the beginning of it. Not sure.
Is it? So it used to be like a Rhino person, like how Spider-Man
you got to think like he was started in the 60s, like when Stan Lee was still writing the book. I mean, it was just like a strong dude in a Rhino looking suit. Well, this is way cooler.
This is definitely way cooler. And we have this big sprawling 2-page drawing and it looks awesome. And then way down in the little corner, we get just one extra panel of Peter and MJ watching what's going on the news. And Peter is worried. He's like, oh my gosh, this is happening now. And Mary Jane, as happy as she's ever been in her entire life, is like, yes, this is happening now. So I was thinking maybe after page 1, I was being unfair to Mary Jane, and I was laying it on a bit thick that she is like, you know, she really likes that this damage is happening. And I was thinking, well, maybe she was just misdrawn on page 1, but no, she wasn't. She's supposed to be like this.
Which is strange considering where we last saw her. Like, traumatized by the goblin throwing her off the Brooklyn Bridge and then being like sad, scared, angry with Peter where they're not talking really.
Yeah, that's true. The last time we did see them, they were like sitting kind of far apart, weren't they?
Yeah. I would have expected her to be more traumatized after that.
Yeah. So Peter races down the hall to get his Spidey outfit. He grabs his backpack out of the locker that has his Spider-Man outfit in it. He turns the corner, and right as he turns the corner, who does he see but his Aunt May at Midtown High. She's here for a parent-teacher conference, and I don't like the plot convenience of him running into Aunt May here. How often does Aunt May come down to the school?
Well, she hasn't yet in this series, so apparently once.
Well, that was my point, I guess. She doesn't.
Right.
But I don't think that I realized at the time that it was supposed to be a plot convenience that she shows up and you know, kind of sidetracks Peter, for lack of a better word. So Aunt May's here for a parent-teacher conference, and just then, the math teacher, Mr. De Palma, opens the door to greet Aunt May, and they insist that Peter join them for the meeting, and he's just got no choice. So Mr. De Palma tells Aunt May all about how Peter seems distracted at school, and the whole time Peter is just like looking away and not paying any attention, and they ask Peter why he seems distracted, and he's like, what? And they're like, why are you so distracted? And he lies that he is supposed to be in some foreign exchange thing, and he races out of the meeting with permission from Aunt May. So he's sprinting down the halls, and he sees a coach and the principal talking on the other side of the door. And he's got no choice. He just has to burst through the door and burst past them. And they yell at him to stop, but they don't know who it is, I don't think. And he just keeps running. The coach is like, man, I hope he's on the track team. And Peter's running through the school, and now he's running through the cafeteria. And it was at this point, reading this, that I was like, man, it sure is taking Peter a long time to get out of the school. Like, how big is this school? I thought he was running out the doors to outside, and then he bursts through the doors and he's just like in the cafeteria.
I can just imagine you reading this and going from like confused to angry to then being like, oh.
That is almost exactly what my emotions were. So he's running through the cafeteria kitchen now, and the news are on there, and he's like asking the guy in the kitchen, he's like, this is still going on? And they're like, yeah.
There's like a little portable TV that the dishwasher guy is watching.
And so Peter's running through the school still, and on the news, the standoff with the Rhino is still going on, and Peter continues his journey to leave the school, and now who does he run into but Gwen Stacy? And what else would she be doing but sitting in a pile of garbage bags? Zach, what is happening? Can Spider-Man just go fight the Rhino, please?
Well, one would think that's what he's about to do, but he's a better friend than that. He's a better person than that. And you neglected to mention that Gwen is like crying. She's sitting.
I was gonna get to it.
She's sitting on trash and she's crying. So yet again, another diversion.
And I was really psyched to see Spider-Man fight Rhino here. Because that first drawing did look so cool of it, and I wanted to see him whip a manhole at Rhino like in the movie.
It's so funny you say that, and we were talking about that suit and everything, because just today, like, that clip came across my timeline for no
Did it?
reason. Yeah. And I watched it and it was
Not for no reason. It's because they probably saw you typing up notes about the Rhino and Spider-Man, and it's just the algorithm.
yeah, Big Brother's always watching.
Yep. And I wish it had come up on my YouTube because it's an awesome scene.
It went just as hard as it did whatever that was 8-9 years ago when I saw it in theaters with my friends.
So I can't decide if I want to take a side moment here and talk about how Andrew Garfield was a pretty good Spider-Man, but
go for it.
We can do it later.
Okay.
That was it.
Oh, okay. That was all.
So Gwen is crying into her arms, sitting in a dumpster of garbage bags, and she says she overheard her mom talking on the phone about how her mom hates her life, and she hates her dad, and she hates Gwen, and she's just going to leave them all. And Peter kind of tries to, I would say, get out of the conversation. He's like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. And then Gwen is like, just leave like everyone else. And Peter's like, oh, I have to stay here and talk to her. So he stays and he talks to her a little bit. And then he's like, I promise I'm going to come find you after school. But he has to leave and fight Rhino. Not that that's what he says to her. So Peter goes away from Gwen, and we can assume he's going to go fight Rhino. So let's just turn the page and see what happens and see if he's fighting Rhino in the next page. he's not.
This next page is just, it's like framed so funny. It's just a comedic sequence of events.
It is.
Like the timing, the pacing, the framing of it all. It could have been told so many different ways that didn't come across as funny as it does.
Well, okay, if I leave anything out that you want to mention then feel free to jump in. So we turn the page and now Peter's running across the schoolyard and MJ is looking out the window and she's like, Peter. And he's like, wait, I want to see exact. He says, Peter, or she says, let me get the inflection right. She's looking out the window. He's down on the ground. She says, Peter? And he just says, I know. And she goes, you're still here? And he goes, I know. I'm trying. This place is like a... And she says, go, that freak tossed a bus into a Starbucks. And then he says, go to the dumpsters and get Gwen. And Mary Jane says, what? And he says, Gwen is crying. I left her. I had to go. And MJ just says, she's in a dumpster? And he says, yes, that's where yes. And she says, God, she's such a drama queen. And she's not wrong. Gwen is a drama queen.
She's got her problems, as we all do. And she's a teenager. I don't know. I'm a little sympathetic to Gwen. Like, she's got a hard life that we just don't see because she's not the main character. But what I think makes this so funny is just like the body language that they're both pointing like very animated in different directions throughout the whole conversation. And like the way he's running like kind of hunched over, like he's frazzled. He's not, he's a superhero. He could just run straight and be very fast, but I don't know. The body language in all these panels is just gold to me.
When she says, you're still here, I was like, Mary Jane, I'm thinking the same thing in my head. You took the words right out of my mouth. So, and this was probably the silliest sidetrack we got because, of course, Peter can't just go and get to the Rhino. So now he's running across the school, and a group of football players are playing football, and one of them just throws a football at Peter as he's running across the field, and it smacks him in the head, and he picks up the ball and he throws it.
Did you see which player?
No, I didn't. Was it Flash?
It was Flash.
Oh, Flash. So Flash throws a ball at him, and his Spidey sense tries to help him out. his Spidey sense goes off, and he's like, why would my Spidey sense be going off now? And then he gets clocked in the head by a football. And I do also love that he's just got to be so annoyed at this point. He doesn't even have time. He just picks up the football and he just throws it clean over the school.
Josh Allen.
Who's the Napoleon Dynamite guy? Uncle Rico.
Oh, Uncle Rico. Could throw that over the mountains.
And he picks up the ball, he throws it over the school. All the football players get mad. They start chasing him, and he rounds a corner, and presumably, I'm guessing he crawls up the school wall to safety because the football players turn the corner, and he's just gone. There's just like
we see him jump into a bush.
Do we?
I mean, maybe
oh my gosh. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe he climbed up from there, but you literally see his foot like sticking out of a bush.
Yeah. But he escapes the bullies. And then we finally do turn the page, and Peter Parker is in his Spider-Man outfit. He's swinging through the city. We get 9 different panels on this page. Well, Spider-Man swinging through the city. Yep.
I was thinking about it. So, do you know where he lives?
Spider-Man is in Manhattan, New York City. What?
Well, he is now, but he lives and goes to school in
Queens.
Forest Hills, Queens. Yeah, that's like the neighborhood of the borough, but Forest Hills, Queens. So he has to go presumably across the Brooklyn Bridge to get into Manhattan where this fight is happening, as he must do for all the bad guys that he fights. So I'm guessing it's like 45 minutes to an hour, swinging from wherever he is to the bridge, across the bridge, into the city. So like it taking him a long time to get there, I feel like is actually probably pretty realistic. I feel like that would be the case in more stories than just this.
Yeah, I'd never thought of like the logistics of that before, because I'm a simpleton, so I think of just New York as, well, they're all in New York, he's already in New York. But most of the fights we have seen him do take place like at the school or somewhere he already is, I feel like he doesn't usually have to commute so much to get to the action.
I feel like most of them are shown in Manhattan. We just don't see him commuting because we know he goes there at least for like the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
But I think about the geography of this a lot. And it also bugs me that his school is called Midtown High when he's definitely not in Midtown.
Deduct a point.
Yeah.
So we get 9 panels of Spider-Man swinging through the city. Zach, I'm so ready to see him fight the Rhino. So is he. He's talking while he's swinging. He's like, I'm coming, I'm on the way. I'm about to be there, and it really reminds me of the Shang-Chi episode issue where he's like getting ready and Shang-Chi is just like beating up guys and he totally misses the fight. I'm sure that won't happen. So we cut to our last 2 pages and we get another beautiful Mark Bagley drawing, a double page drawing, and Iron Man beat him to the punch. And Iron Man has already like force field captured Rhino, and all the news cameras are there, and they're like, Iron Man, he's our hero, the hero of New York, and everyone's going crazy for him. And we do get one more panel, and it's just Spider-Man. Oh, shoot, I lost it. It's like Spider-Man getting yelled at by a bodega owner, and he's just like, where were you 10 minutes ago, pal? Pretty good.
And he's like breaking down and bending over. He's like, I, and then he swings away and says, at least I tried.
Pretty good. Pretty fun. What do you think?
Oh, very fun.
Pretty quick read, also.
Yeah. It didn't feel like a full issue, did it?
No, it definitely did not. Which it was. I mean, it was 21 pages, and there were a couple that were like double, sided, but it was just fun. It was a good one.
Yeah.
I was a little annoyed with it at first because I was like, get Spider-Man to the Rhino, and all these things keep happening. And then I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Have you seen the old, like Adam West Batman movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. Okay, well, you have to, first of all, but there's a scene in it that I feel like this is the spiritual successor to, where he's like got this, like, cartoonish looking bomb with a big old wick, and he's like running down the pier.
I've seen that scene.
Yes, and he's like,
yeah.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Like everywhere he turns, there's nuns walking, and then there's like a woman with a baby in a stroller, and then there's like an orphanage of little puppies or something, and he just can't find where to throw this bomb.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. I did not ever know like the story behind him like running with that bomb over his head. That is so funny.
Yeah, he just keeps going, and it just keeps burning, and everywhere he looks, it's like something so pure and innocent that he can't blow up.
Do you remember how he gets rid of it? Can we spoil it?
He eventually,
Spoilers for a 1960s Batman episode.
I think he eventually just throws it in water, but he cuts it real close.
I almost forgot about my favorite joke from this issue. I'm glad I included it in my final notes write-up because I skipped it the first time I was reading through.
What was that?
But there's a scene where Peter and MJ, Peter is like first leaving to go fight the Rhino. And he's like, she goes, well, go get him. And he says, cover for me. I'm going to miss fourth period. And she says, it's French. Who cares? And Peter, storming away with like a scowl on his face, just says, the French.
They care.
And it's just perfectly drawn. And if you're not specifically looking at the way Peter is drawn in that, Zach, I would recommend going back and looking at it because he's annoyed at MJ for even asking.
Yeah, the body language is on point here too. I mean, the whole issue, it's very funny. The thing that I thought was weird was like, look at the panel just below that where she's like singing and she says, my boyfriend's going to kick your butt.
I actually included that in my write-up also. I must have just skipped that entire paragraph because we were just having so much fun. But yeah, she like sings songs, my boyfriend's going to kick your butt, and she kind of
looks creepy.
She looks creepy this whole issue when she's like too excited about all of this violence.
Way too happy about a terrorist attack. Let's call it what it is.
But then we do get a good picture of her right after that where she's sing-songing, and then she cuts back and looks at the news, and like the Rhino is really like destroying stuff. And we finally get like one panel of her like being worried. It's like it finally clicked with her that like, oh no, I just sent my boyfriend into this like danger.
That's interesting that's what you thought she was reacting to. And you're probably right, because it's actually on that page. I thought she was seeing Aunt May coming down the hall.
Oh, that could be.
I think I'm wrong. Too. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen for another 2 pages.
But I thought this one was really fun. The French joke was funny. The 2-page drawings were awesome. Mark Bagley is definitely my favorite artist that we get to hang out with. Which
good.
We hang out with him often.
Yeah. He's a friend.
So, I originally gave this one an 8 out of 10, but I actually think I'm going to up it to 9 out of 10 moms not leaving their families. For Gwen.
Oh, for Gwen.
For Gwen.
Damn, I was gonna say
if you have okay, please give me a better one.
Buses thrown into a Starbucks.
Oh, I love it. That's a much better one. Okay,
Yeah.
9 out of
Let's-
10 buses thrown into a Starbucks.
Yeah, because this
And
is a
I have
really positive.
really good grading scale for next one.
This is a really positive episode or issue. So, moms leaving their families is pretty sad. But
Well, Zach, it was
buses
moms not leaving their families.
not leaving yeah. But buses being thrown through Starbucks is less sad.
That's just good fun.
Yeah. Whomst amongst us didn't do that as a rascally teenager?
Their lattes are like $8.
Oh, yeah. It's so
it's
crazy.
insanity.
But you know what? I'm hooked. I can't stop going.
Oh, me too. I've got one now. It's a homemade one.
Yeah, so you're giving
What's
it
the rating? I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a good one.
All right.
So if we're done there, we can move into a very special issue that we now both own physical copies of because it is not on Marvel Unlimited. So I had to buy the last 2 reasonably priced ones on the internet.
Yes. Thank you to Zach. I love owning these. I think they are so cool. Now,
These might be valuable now because ours were like $6 and they were the last 2 from that seller. And all the other ones I saw were like 30 or more.
Really? And mine came with a certificate of authentication.
I was going to ask you if you got one of those too. It's pretty cool.
I did, because this is like a special issue. It was like 1/2. Is that why you think they're like more rare?
I mean, I definitely think fewer were made. Let's read this bad boy.
Now, did I send you a copy of the football comic that I bought, or did I just get that? And then you found it online.
I read it on that sketchy site that has a pop-up you can't.
Oh, that's right. I read it on that sketchy site also, and then I got it later. I think it got delivered like later on.
It was just a little memento.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this certificate of authenticity that it came with. It says, this Ultimate Spider-Man 1/2 was available only through a special offer in Wizard the Comics magazine number 126. Each copy is part of a limited edition, which was distributed in a special Wizard protective holder, which was just plastic, with a copy of this certificate. And it's signed, I mean, like, not original, but, signed by the chairman and CEO of Wizard Entertainment and Joe Quesada, the editor-in-chief of Marvel.
Very cool. That's weird, wild stuff.
Yeah. I wish it said how many of these were made.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool that like this was kind of a limited thing that wasn't expected to really make money or be read by that many people, but they still got the same creative team that they, have always been working with. So it's Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Bagley, Art to Bear, and Transparency Digital. And we open on someone holding a picture of Spider-Man punching a criminal while swinging as shoes fly in the air in the background. And we see that the person holding the picture is J. Jonah Jameson, who is in a meeting with the Daily Bugle writers. And he says he loves this and asks who took it.
I love this. This is great art. Who took this?
Get him $50. And Robbie Robertson.
Crap.
Now he's pretty jolly here. This is the best we've seen J. Jonah Jameson's disposition so far. He's like smiling. And Robbie Robertson.
It looks like from the picture, I thought this right away, that it looks like Peter is knocking out 2 people at the same time. Like it looks like he is doing harm, I would say, in the picture.
Which might be why Jonah's so happy about it.
Yeah. And does the criminal to you, Zach, pretend like you are reading this for the first time? Okay. Does the person Spider-Man is punching, do you recognize him as anyone right away? If you're just reading this?
Blonde guy with long hair and a leather jacket.
Okay. I guess I was just wondering if like someone who reads all the comics and is like caught up on the different stories, if they would see this picture and be like, "Oh, I know who that is," or if they would just be like, it's just a random criminal.
No, because he doesn't have any identifying features yet. So you'd have to know not only like what he looks like, but what he looks like when Mark Bagley is drawing him. Because
Yeah.
every artist has their own different spin on, people.
Okay.
So that's a little tease that maybe he's someone worth knowing later.
Maybe.
Yeah. Robbie Robertson says the picture was taken by one of the Bugle's interns. He says it's the girl Karen. She just happened to be there. And Jonah says, good for her, then asks the table what they think the story is behind the picture. And Ben Urich flips open his notepad and starts narrating to Jonah. And Ben says that according to the police, a woman named Tara Keegan walked out of a sporting goods store, pursued by a store employee. And the employee said that he saw her sneak a pair of children's sneakers in her bag and walk out of the store without paying for them. And he was trying to confront Miss Keegan about the shoes, but she just kept walking away. So he chased her down, grabbed her, threw her against the wall of a building, and told her to give the shoes back. And Miss Keegan started screaming, "Don't touch me! Get off me! I'm pregnant!" And a large man came out of the store to help Miss Keegan, and he palmed the store employee's head like a basketball and told him repeatedly, "You can't grab her. You ain't got no badge." And the three individuals started yelling at each other as, in real time, Ben Urich says, and this is where things got a little weird.
Clarence Wilson isn't anyone, right? I don't know if you said Clarence Wilson is the person who grabs this store employee. Is he supposed to be anyone? Okay.
Nope. Usually when people are given names, there's a reason behind it. And because he's huge, he looks like he could be a superhero or supervillain.
I thought maybe he was Luke Cage, especially when we learn who else shows up in this, which is another little tease. I was thinking that this guy was also someone from that same.
He could have passed for Luke Cage. He looks like he's 6'7" and bald and muscular, but I looked it up. He's no one. It's just a guy. And so a blonde man stepped out from the crowd and told the large man, "I don't want to fight you, but I won't let you hurt him," because he's getting a little rough with the store employee at this point. And the large man didn't let the store employee go, and the blonde man kicked him in the back of the head. And the large man rubbed his head and said, "Someone's looking for a beating." And the blonde guy's hand then started glowing and emitting some kind of energy. So now we might know who he is. Maybe not yet. Some of us will. And he said, "Don't make me." And the other guy said, "Bring it on, mutant." And the blonde guy cocked his fist back and then got clocked in the face by Spider-Man, who was swinging by.
Zach, did you get, before that double page drawing of Spider-Man clocking the Iron Fist, did you get a sexy page of some ladies in your comic?
Oh, yeah, we're talking about the advertisements?
Yeah.
Do you know who those sexy ladies are?
I don't. You don't get that in the Ultimate Unlimited app or whatever it's called.
Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, that is Jean Grey and Emma Frost of the X-Men.
Oh, yep. Now that I actually look at it, it does say that right on the page.
Yeah, it says cover by Adam Hughes, and I'm like, wow, I kind of like that. I wish he had drawn more of them in that era, because that's a very specific era of X-Men. You can show those costumes to anyone that reads X-Men, and they're like, oh yeah, the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely run. It's great. But I actually like that art better than Frank Quitely's art of them.
Well,
but
that's
yeah,
interesting. Sorry to keep you off track.
No, you're good. Thanks for mentioning that because they are really hot and it's a pretty cool advertisement. Anyways, moving on. So we see Spider-Man clock him in the face, and his foot, it looks like, while he was swinging by, because he's, at this, he has to swing at like head level to try and punch him. He also kicked the woman in the face who had stolen the shoes. And we see.
Now, did she steal the shoes? She's been accused.
Well, there's shoes also flying up in the air behind him, so they got there somehow.
Maybe she bought them.
But anyways, that was the moment a camera flashed, and the Daily Bugle intern Karen captured the photo that Jonah is holding in the present. And Spidey webbed the man's glowing hand to a car and then ducked a punch from the large man. And in the present, Jonah asks if anyone talked to the man with the glowing hand. So we're kind of jumping back and forth between past and present here. So when my notes change from past tense to present tense, that's not an oversight. That's how the story is presented. And Betty Brant tells Jonah that he wouldn't return any calls, but a friend of hers at the police station told her that the guy's name was Danny Rand. And she heard that he isn't a mutant, but does know martial arts and has abilities by focusing his chi. So, John, you kind of hinted at it earlier. Do we know who this is now?
I did know who this is. Once his fist started glowing, I was like, oh, this is probably the Iron Fist, who I only know from a Marvel TV show that I never watched one episode of because I heard it was really bad.
Did you watch The Defenders?
No, I did not.
I actually liked
but I know that
Defenders.
Daredevil's in that. And
Yeah.
But no, I skipped that when, I know it's like in the middle of season 2 and 3 of Daredevil is when that takes place, but I just skipped it.
Yeah, and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are also part of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like all the characters in that show, except for Iron Fist, are great. Even Iron Fist's friends, like his girlfriend, Colleen Wing, super cool. It's kind of worth a watch if you have time.
Okay. I'll add it to the list.
All right.
It's like a polite way of saying I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if we do a pod about it, I'll watch it.
We don't have to do that. You'll watch it when I watch the menu.
Yeah.
So yeah, Betty Brant says that he can make his fist glow by focusing his chi, and no one in the newsroom really knows what that means, but they just kind of accept it and move on because they live in a strange world anyways. And apparently Rand had been inspired by Spider-Man and decided to use his abilities for what he called community service. And Betty says he was not charged with anything because every eyewitness attested that he was only trying to break up the fight before someone could get hurt. And she says he cooperated with the police, gave a statement, and was released.
So, Zach, not to get us too off track, but how does Danny Rand get his powers? Because he's obviously not just like some really good martial artist like Shang-Chi is. He's got a magic fist.
He focuses his chi.
I don't know what that means, like everyone at the Daily Bugle.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
So is that just how he's always described? They're just like, they don't ever actually like say what he does. I mean, that is what he does. He focuses his chi.
Yeah, man. Science and magic in the Marvel Universe is dubious. Sometimes you just roll with it.
Okay.
And Betty says she wishes she could have asked him if this dissuaded him from his idea of community service. But like she said, he didn't answer the phone. But her cop friend said he thinks Rand seems rather disillusioned by the experience. And Jonah is excited to wrap up the meeting and run the story on the front page, but Ben says he has another set of statements.
Spider-Man sneaker sucker punch.
Yeah, that if it wasn't
Spider-Man
clear,
shoplifter sucker punch.
Yeah, if it wasn't clear, the story Jonah wants to run is not friendly to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But Ben has another statement, and Jonah asks him if he talked to another witness, and Ben starts reading from his notepad, which says, I was about 7 stories up from where the action took place. I heard the woman screaming and the shoe store clerk yelling for help. And Jonah realizes whose statement it is and tries to interrupt by saying, Ben, I am too busy a man to sit here, but Ben keeps reading over him, saying, now, even though I know there's a good chance that every move I make is going to be criticized out the yin-yang because I wear a mask, I take that chance. Because even though our society is merciless and punishing to the famous, that even our most beloved celebrities and leaders are put through the ringer just because that's what we do, I want to use these powers I have to help people, so I keep my identity a secret, to spare my loved ones both the scrutiny and the danger of being associated with me. And I just try to help. And when I'm up on a roof somewhere or crawling up the side of a wall and I happen to hear the screams of a woman in distress, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm going to help. I'm going to put her well-being in front of mine. And to any bystander with a brain in their head, the man with a glowing hand is the immediate concern. The man with the glowing hand might very well be out of normal law enforcement's league and something right up my unique alley. I have been at this costume vigilante game a long time, and there isn't a correspondence course you can take to become trained masked vigilante, or a handbook that you can consult for trouble situations. So yeah, I made a mistake. I hit the wrong guy. But it ends up that lady was the one shoplifting in the first place, and she wasn't really pregnant. And all I did was knock her on her butt long enough for the cops to grab her. But the person I feel really bad about hitting is this Danny Rand guy, the guy with the glowing hand, because, like me, he was just trying to do something worthwhile, something helpful. And I know that if the roles were reversed, I would be really mad at me, especially if the simple little incident would have me landing on the front page of the Daily Bugle. Just because someone who works at the newspaper just so happened to be standing there that moment, and they just happened to take the picture that ended up being the only decent art on that editor's desk that day.
I have some concerns about Spider-Man's statement.
Go for it.
And I didn't want to interrupt, but they're kind of there's one big one. Quote, because even though our society is merciless and punishing to the famous, that even our most beloved leaders and celebrities are put through the ringer just because that's what we do. Is Spider-Man complaining about cancel culture here?
Well, that's sure what we would call it in 2023.
Spidey. And here's what makes that worse is he has run into situations before and completely beat up the wrong person. This is like a daily occurrence for this Spider-Man that we have like grown accustomed to. He's always running in too fast and messing everything up. And now he's like, yeah, sure. So I made a mistake and punched the wrong person. It's not like that always happens or anything.
Listen, buddy, I'll roll those dice.
So, pretty good, but... I
start blasting.
But I don't see so good.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I was impressed by how well spoken he was for a 15-year-old, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. But when I was reading it, I did make a note. I was like, is Spider-Man complaining about cancel culture right now? Are we merciless to the rich and powerful in this society? Like, what?
The point of it, the point that it's supposed to make, is that he knows he's talking directly to J. Jonah Jameson in this statement. He's making a plea and basically saying, don't let your personal feelings about me color this story.
And I'll tell you what, I think he might have gotten through to him.
Yeah, he makes a compelling case.
He does.
So Jonah frowns at the picture, sets it on the table, and says, all right, let me think about it. Everyone go away and do something useful. And as everyone leaves, Betty tells Ben, you got calzones on you, my friend. And Ben says, better get my resume together. And Betty replies, nah, Flat Top likes a little push and pull, but just a little. And Robbie and Jonah are left alone in the boardroom looking at the photo. And Robbie asks Jonah, well? And Jonah slowly lifts the corner of his lip slightly and says,
Can I?
Go for it.
Run it. It's good art.
He was so close to growing and changing and thought long and hard about it and said, nah.
Amazing. Perfect characterization. The two panels we get that are just close-ups of J. Jonah Jameson's face where he's thinking, you can tell he's like in thought and he's deciding. And then the teeniest little smile just curls on his little mustache lip.
You know what it reminded me of?
What?
The Grinch's smile.
That is exactly what I was
in the cartoon.
That is exactly what I was thinking of when I said the smile curls on his lip.
That is so funny.
It is perfect. Run it. It's good art. Amazing.
Did you flip through the rest of the pages?
No, I didn't.
Do that real quick. It's a little treat.
Ooh.
You want to describe to the listeners?
So this is some Marvel hardcovers that it happens once an episode, folks. Marvel hardcovers, and yeah, there's some pretty good stuff here. Some of them are kind of weird, this first one, but this one with Elektra and Wolverine, it's most certainly drawn by someone I wouldn't like. And then we get some action figures of Spider-Man eating potato chips and Wolverine. So how long
after that is kind of what I was...
Just long enough to sell this thing. Oh.
And then these are the pages I was kind of looking to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, we've got some art from Mark Bagley that's not quite finished. I guess just some, what would you call that?
Like the character
art or a sketchbook or
concept art or character designs. It's like before, they had debuted these characters in the comics. This is like what he would, doodle out and then send over to Bendis and say, what do you think about this?
I think
he's got little handwritten
notes. We might
notes.
have some spoilers in here because I am seeing Kong in a supervillain outfit in one of these drawings. Funky double
that says
fudge.
Kingpin.
Oh,
look at the handwritten note. It says Kingpin supervillain.
Oh, okay. Yep, I thought that was Kong. All right, no spoilers.
So this lady that we couldn't figure out who she was in the Kraven issues, maybe there's a little hint there. It says Kraven's main squeeze.
Oh, yep. The Wakandan woman.
We think she's Wakandan, yeah. Doesn't really say
Oh,
much
this is
more than
cool.
that.
And we've got a realistic looking rhino man
Yeah,
who
that's
says, too stupid looking for words, but way fun to draw. Oh, this is great. I'm glad you pointed this out. Oh, well, this is cool. That is cool.
yeah.
What did you
And
think
then
of the episode issue? And then what?
Oh, I was going to say, and then on the very last page, it's like a double wide spread advertising some Comic-Con. It's got like everyone who's anyone going.
Nice. We'll have to try to get tickets for that.
Yeah, 2002.
Yeah. All right.
So
tell me what you think.
I liked it. I mean, I think it, not to, toot my own horn, I paired these together. They didn't, I mean, neither of them were continuity heavy, but I like that we did two kind of like not continuity heavy, just fun little stories, together in this week. Cause I think we're about to get a little serious in Ultimates and a little serious in Ultimate Spider-Man. But I liked this one. I didn't like it as much as the first one.
I think it is a testament to you to toot your own horn, because I thought that these issues did go together. I thought that this issue came right after the other one, because they do flow together really well, because they're both just like pretty fun, goofy little, romps. And they don't tie into a bigger story really, and they're just like fun and jokey, and I really liked it also. Yeah, I think J. Jonah Jameson at the very end, I mean, that was perfect. If he had taken that to heart and not run that picture, it wouldn't have been J. Jonah Jameson.
He is one of my favorite characters in the Spider-Man mythos.
Absolutely.
I
think he might be my favorite. And it's because of the way he's always characterized, and they get the best actors to play him. That's amazing. Zach's holding up a Funko Pop he has of J. Jonah Jameson.
Holding a Daily Bugle that says Spider-Man Threat or Menace. Because those are the only two choices. Okay. I have a grading scale.
Okay, I have one also.
Inspired by the last, thing Betty Brant said in the issue. Out of 10 calzones on Ben Urich.
Well, I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 calzones. But I'm also going to take 1 point off, which is what makes it a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, because I did really have fun with this. I'm taking 1 point off for Spider-Man's cancel culture rambling during his speech. And the grading scale I gave this was 9 out of 10 celebrities canceled. But we can do calzones instead.
Did I tell you I was on a cruise last year, and like the comedian that they had literally did his whole thing about cancel culture and about how it was his last week at Royal Caribbean because people couldn't take a joke, and how we need to stand up to this system.
True.
It was very
said it.
It was so embarrassing, and like everyone was actually cheering, and I was like, what are you guys cheering about? There was no joke in there.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's like insane. I remember Elizabeth and I went to Australia for our honeymoon this past summer, and we went to a comedy club, and it was pretty funny. There were some good people, and even this guy was pretty funny who was doing this, but it's just like, you can't say anything these days. They're coming to cancel us. And it's like, and yeah, the crowd is like eating it up. And it's like, dude, what you're on stage with a microphone, buddy.
I have a friend who started a new job, and one of his coworkers was like, "Yeah, man, everything these days is just a hate crime." And he was like, "What do you mean by that? Because I only know a few hate crimes, and they definitely should be considered hate crimes." But anyways, we digress. I think I liked this one a little bit less than you. I still thought it was good, but I don't think it was as good as the previous issue that was a 9 out of 10. So for me, this is 8 out of 10 calzones.
I like it. The part of Spider-Man's like statement that did make me laugh though was when he's like, "Yeah, I punched the wrong person. But you know what? That lady was shoplifting and she wasn't even pregnant. So that's a win."
Yeah. In my defense, I also managed to kick a woman who was stealing children's shoes unconscious.
Yeah. Oh man, now that makes me feel bad. Now we got to go into a whole nother thing.
Yeah, it's not like she was stealing, jewelry or something.
Yeah.
Like her kids
She
needed
was
shoes.
stealing like a boy's pair of Converse.
And he was like, "Yep, all in a day's work." And we were able to hold her down until the cops got there.
Yeah, I punched that guy that was trying to help, and she's in jail where she belongs.
He's going to sleep so soundly tonight.
But these were both really fun. I liked them a lot.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay. What else do we have?
Oh, man. So on to less fun things. I kind of think I alluded to this last episode. I have to give a content warning for next episode. We committed to covering all of the Ultimates, and I still think that's a worthwhile endeavor to get the whole story. But unfortunately, that means next week we have to look at Ultimates issue 6, which has some pretty graphic depictions of domestic abuse.
Is it Bruce Banner?
No.
Okay, at least it's not Bruce.
I would pay for an issue of Betty slapping Bruce around a little bit.
That'd be okay.
Yeah.
I guess I wish it was Bruce, because there's no sense in making two of these characters terrible.
No, it's our other most hated couple.
Hank Pym?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. let me do some stretching. I gotta tear Hank Pym a new one next week.
Yeah. Anyways, so we got that going for us.
Okay, so next week is Ultimate 6 and 7.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like it'll be fun for the whole family. What about anything fun or interesting have for you this week that you want to talk about?
I don't know how many people care about this. I might cut it, but on Saturday, the weather was pretty nice and warm, and there was a concert on the campus of IU.
You just stop it right there. On Saturday, the weather was pretty nice.
Enough said.
You were in Bloomington?
Yeah, I went to Bloomington and saw some bands from Indianapolis and hung out with some friends. And one of the bands, they were playing in front of the IU fountain, and it's just this super high energy punk band, and the singer does a lot of funny stuff. And he took off his shoes and was like, "Everyone take off your shoes and follow me." And I did, and I had no idea where we were going. And then he just jumps in the fountain. We all started splashing around.
Now,
the
is
band's
this
still
the
up
fountain with... See, for our listeners, I was a Hoosier myself, so I went to Indiana University. So I know these landmarks. And is this the fountain that has like a lady in it? And
it's the fish one.
The fish, yeah, okay. Oh, nice. I always wanted to jump in that fountain when I was there.
That's so funny. I did not go to IU, and I've jumped in the fountain now.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. What about you?
That is
you got
definitely
anything?
Cool. Not really. I do know that one of our listeners messaged Zach and said that there is a new Spider-Man in India run that is maybe about to come out, or like an Indian Spider-Man. and we've
talked about him before on the show.
But there's like a new run happening. Isn't that what that comment said? And he's going to let us know if they use the speech from the prime minister.
Yeah.
The power and responsibility quote.
Yeah, we'll get to see if...
And then we're going to sue them for everything they're worth.
Marvel ripped off our idea and we can demand restitution.
Yeah. But no, I think that's awesome. And I think that was a pretty interesting comment that you had, Zach, about jumping in the fountain. If anyone here goes to IU, jump in the fountain.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
You can't get in trouble for it. Tell them we allowed you.
You are uncancelable.
Yeah. If they try to arrest you, just, argue that it's cancel culture happening.
Yeah. Rail against how everyone's out to tear down the rich and powerful and famous.
I would pay to see a drunk person arguing with soaking wet, standing in that fountain, arguing with a police officer.
You have no proof.
Oh well, should we go to our newest segment that is just starting today, where we're going to read a review from a listener?
I think we shall. Do you have a review up?
Nope, but I can find one, and we can make a cut so the audience thinks we had one ready. And to answer your question, Zach, yes, I do have a review ready. I had it ready the whole time.
All right.
So this is by Jen and Spence. So this is actually a review from two people.
So two reviews.
Two reviews.
So if we reuse this in a different episode, we're not just being lazy.
Oh my gosh. What happened at school where somebody said something and then another one of the kids said, like, gosh, it might have been like learning about mitosis or something. And they were like, so it creates a new cell. And the teacher was like, 2 cells. And the kids were like, 2 cells. And in my head, in the back of the class, I'm just like, 2 cells. Yeah.
When I was in middle school, we were learning about how there's like 23 chromosomes in a sperm cell.
There's 23. Yep. You're right. I was about to say there's 23 pairs of chromosomes, but no, in sex cells, there are 23 chromosomes.
Yeah. And a kid in the back of the class blurted out, "Oh, just like the 23 delicious flavors of Dr. Pepper." And I remember that to this day.
That is really funny. I keep trying to get my students in our social studies class, because I'm just like a resource teacher. So I just go into the class and I kind of help the kids with their work and everything. And one of the teachers keeps talking about Uganda. And every time class ends, I go up to the same people and I'm like, I thought you were going to say Uganda. Be kidding me when she said Uganda. And they refuse to do it. And they're like, why don't you do it? And I'm like, it'll be so funny. If one of you... And I'm like, I can't blurt out and interrupt class to make this joke. But you guys can. And I'll have your back when you do. You can be like, it was Mr. Opat's idea. And one of them was like, I'm not a snitch.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so our review from Jen and Spence. So 5 stars. Great storytelling. It's easy to see how comic book lovers would enjoy this, but don't count it out if you are not one. I've never read a comic book and I don't watch the movies, but I love listening to a good story, and this is a great story. The audio quality is excellent. The hosts are very well spoken. Oh, thank you, Jen and Spence, and interact easily together. They do a great job telling the comic version of the story and weaving in similarities and differences in the movies. I didn't know how much I liked Spider-Man until I gave it a listen. Zach, that warms my heart.
So wholesome. That was great.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're describing a different podcast than ours.
So if you have a review, it certainly does not need to be that long and thought out. Leave us a review.
Or a question.
5 stars. These guys suck.
If there's something that you want us to clarify from a previous episode, if you want to get our opinion on something, this can be reviews and Q&As. It's just our time to interact.
Definitely. And we don't have an unlimited amount of reviews coming in. So they need to keep coming in, or else this is going to be a short segment. It's not going to last that many episodes.
Yeah, John was pretty brave when he suggested this. So, it'll be egg on his face if you guys don't
I'm
show
counting
up.
on you guys to take 2 seconds and write us a review. And we'll read it on the pod, which will be fun.
Yeah. If all of you that listen sent in one review or question, we would not be able to do enough episodes to answer them all. So do that. Give us that challenge.
Yeah, exactly. But I also want the listeners to be like, they're going to read my review on air. We probably will. If we start getting hundreds of reviews, we'll read multiples. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, it'll become the new show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Zach, this was so fun. I'm sorry it's over. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, well, the good news is we have a shorter turnaround time now. I'll see you in like 5 days.
Yes. Thank you to Ian Hickey for our music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And you can find us on Instagram at First Read Podcast. And you can find us on YouTube, just if you want to leave us a comment, at Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast. So you can swing on by for next week. It's only a 5-day turnaround time. Bye, webheads.